Welcome back,
Hi,
everyone. Hi,
welcome
Ellie.
back to Creative Cousins. And if you're new here, then welcome. Hey, Beth, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
Awesome.
So, we have a really great episode planned for you guys. First, we're going to talk about our recent creations. Then, we're going to move into our main segment for the day, which is about knowing when your work is done.
Mm-hmm.
Then, we're going to go into today's hot take, recent inspiration, tips and knowledge share, and nostalgia and childhood memories.
I'm really excited though to talk about the main topic because it's something that we've like brought up before, but we never really like touched more onto, and so I'm
Right, we
excited.
sort of skimmed the surface.
Yeah, but this time I want to like really get into it. But first, I must show you my most recent marker drawing, which I did finish yesterday. So it is fresh. Okay.
Fresh off the press.
Right off the press.
We
Here we
love it.
go.
Ooh,
So
I love this one.
it's basically another one of my flower drawings where it's based off a photo that I took the gardens, Filoli in the Bay Area. It's a flower kind of about to bloom. It's not quite blooming yet, and it's like budding still. And then there's the green flowers near it. And then it gets to be like, has like the light green flowers on the edges. And then I did add more line work than I feel like I've done in the past, which I kind of like doing to add the extra detail. And then I have like a very soft background. I try to minimize the palette with this one. So if you compare it to my other ones, I've been kind of going crazy with the colors in the background. But this time I tried to like minimize it to be like there's like blue, but there's also like the light yellow pastel colors.
Yeah, I did
Anyway,
notice that. It definitely feels like less shades there.
yeah, I was trying to keep it like mostly the contrast colors, so blue and next to the red and all
Yeah,
that
it
good
looks nice.
stuff. So, anyway, I'm done with it now. I'm excited. This is the back. No one asked to see that, but I always think it's fun looking at the back of the marker drawings because you see like
Do you
the thing of it.
refer to like the color wheel when you do these to like make it more
So
dramatic?
kind of funny that you say that. I feel like because I for a
You've probably
long
memorized it, right?
well, not necessarily. For a long time, I was mostly doing black and white stuff, obviously, right? Because my charcoal drawings is just black and white. So I haven't really done stuff with color in a really long time. But because I started doing more color stuff, color drawings with the markers and everything, and my digital paintings, like I guess they're all in color. But since working as an art teacher at my location I am at now, they really like I'm constantly talking about the color wheel to the kids to the point where I'm like I'm now
Mm,
using it more often, and like I
yeah,
actually wasn't I kind of was kind of
that's
forgetting
so
about
cool.
referring to it. Yeah, I know, and it's like I really should be thinking about the contrast colors more often, like the complementary colors and stuff. I'm finally doing it now. And this is a little off
Well, I think
topic.
it's cool that like our art kind of parallels our life sometimes.
Yeah.
Kind of
It
been using more in your life, so then it sort of bled into your artwork as well.
I recently I am getting it in the mail tomorrow. I had to see this advertised to me. It's called the Color Cube. This is a non-sponsored ad. I have not gotten it yet, but I am gonna get it tomorrow. Where it's just a bunch of color palettes, like in a box, and it's just this artist. I think they put together different colorful palettes, and so it's like 5 colors on each palette, and I'll show images for the visual, listener watchers. But it's supposed to help you like come up with cool and interesting palettes. A YouTuber I watched use this thing, but use it to like make outfits instead, like because she helped make outfits with different colors. Anyway, so they're color palettes that literally, they're cards that literally have the palettes on them that have colors that work well together. Anyway, So I'm excited to use them.
I am so excited to see those.
Enough about me. Allie, what do you have to show us today?
Yeah, so this was an engagement session that is for a wedding couple of mine. So they're getting married next June in Newport, and all my wedding packages come with engagement sessions. They're originally from this area, but they live in North Carolina
Oh, wow.
now. It's either north or south.
One of them.
She reached out to me a couple of weeks ago and said they were coming back up to go to a different wedding, and if they could get their engagement photos done in the trip, then it would be good for them so that they could get their save the dates out. So it happened to work out, and we ended up going to Borderland State Park. It was gorgeous. I had never actually explored the park before. I had been there just to like see the building, like the mansion castle building, but I hadn't gone and like checked out all the little like nooks and crannies of the park. So I had no idea that this place was a gold mine. I feel like I never would have anticipated to have so many different backgrounds in one park, like so many different settings. I was messaging my friend Kelly Dunham. She's a photographer as well. And I had posted on my story that we were there, and she messaged and said, "Oh my gosh, this is my all-time favorite location." And I was like, "Oh, really? Like, can you like point me in the direction of like the fields?" And then she was like, "You got to take the pond loop and walk backwards." So that's what we did. We took the pond loop. It was 2 miles. It was 85 degrees at 10 a.m. or 9
Can't
a.m.
imagine.
We had a small window of time to get this done because they had to go to a rehearsal dinner that night. So we had to do it at 9 o'clock. So it was a little bit before midday, but still pretty bright out. Ended up doing the whole 2 mile loop, and we stopped at like every like scenic spot on the way.
That's awesome.
It was so much fun. We even saw a turtle.
That's
It
the
was
really
it
that's
was
the
tons of
important
fun.
thing of the trip.
Right,
Let's be
right.
real.
But it really was a lot of fun. They loved it. We had fun running around. I was prompting them. We were doing all sorts of crazy stuff. And yeah, it was just a good time. I got to catch up with her because we actually went to college together. So that was cool.
That's so weird.
And then at the end, we like parted ways, and I was like, see you guys next year
It's so cool.
because they're gonna go back, and then they won't be back probably until their wedding. So
That's so cool that it's like so funny because like the last time to do a photo shoot recently in the podcast, like you knew the person from like a long time ago, and now again
Right.
you're meeting someone that you
It's a
knew a long
theme.
time
Yeah.
ago. Like that's so funny. Wow, weird.
I think it's great.
They're
It just makes me
finding
happy
you.
because, well, I mean, her and I, we already like, we've been talking before. Like, she does online coaching, like training, like a couple of years ago. So that was cool. So it's kind of like come full circle, like supporting small businesses. Plus, it's just nice when you get to see your acquaintances and friends again. And it's just nice because you kind of already know them a little.
Yeah.
And it just makes for a really great time.
That's
But
awesome.
that also helps, like, even if I don't know them, like the engagement session, like helps before the wedding because then I get to know them during the session and the wedding goes a lot smoother. But yeah, it's really great. I've loved seeing like a lot of people from my past. It's really cool.
That's so cool. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
So I'll show the images.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
Right.
Okay.
So it was like I said, it was really bright out, but there were also times where we would be in shade. So I used flash. Lately I've been using direct flash a lot during the
Yeah.
daytime, especially during times with harsh lighting. I feel like it just helps so much, and there's no reason to limit yourself on what backgrounds you can use or where you can take your pictures when the lighting is harsh. If you have flash, it's like, oh, we can still do it here.
Yeah.
Or as someone who started as a natural light photographer, it always feels like cheating. Because I'm so used to like going where the lighting is best, like naturally,
Yeah.
that I'm like, this feels wrong. I feel like I'm breaking the rules here. It does kind of make for a really cool look.
I think it's cool.
Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's high contrast, but it's like everything is like exposed well, like in the foreground and the background, and you don't lose
Yeah.
any of the detail. Like you can see clouds, like you can see small details in the back still, which is
Mm.
definitely harder to do on a bright day if you don't have flash.
Yeah, I never would have thought of that.
And even during this session, there was plenty of blown out skies, even using flash, because there's only so far you can push it. I
Yeah.
feel like maybe in the future I would maybe stop down even more and then increase the power of my flash even more, but that can be tricky too. So that's one of them, and then the next one is,
Oh, this one's cute too.
yeah, some people really like being prompted because they have never really been in front of the camera before and they don't really know what to do. So I'll tell them to do stuff like pick up your partner and spin them around or hold hands and run, like the next one. I feel like you can never underestimate just walking, like having your couple walk, like any amount of like
It's a good
small
tip.
motion is like good. It doesn't have to be a crazy thing. So if you have a couple that might not be able to do the picking up and spinning around, you can do simple prompts that are easy and it usually turns out really nice.
I really like that one because I really like it looks very natural, like they're just walking together. But it doesn't like
Right,
feel like
yeah.
posed or anything. But yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, I feel like I really like the candid documentary type images, and one way to do that is definitely prompting. And this is another good prompt if you're ever stuck in a session, is just have your couple hold hands and spin around. Usually it's a lot of fun. They do get dizzy after a while though. So you gotta
Yeah, that's so
gotta
cute.
try to get the shot. But it's super cute. It usually is very cute.
The light, I like the light and like they're kind of like highlighted by the light. They're like really
Right. In some ways, you can make bright midday sessions work really well. I was using Flash here too, but I don't really know how much the flash was affecting this photo because they were pretty far away from me for this one.
mm-hmm.
So I don't really know if the flash made a difference at all for this one. Yeah, I feel like I just happened to be like positioned pretty well. I could tell like where I was standing was like gonna work for this. I really like how this
Yeah,
came out, and I'm excited to edit the rest of this gallery.
super cute. I really like it a lot. Very pretty backgrounds. I think you hit it out of the park, Allie.
Thank you so much. I feel like this leads nicely into our next main topic because I am currently finishing up this gallery and I am not really sure when to be done.
Oh, yeah.
So I really like how the images look right now, but there's a few that I feel like I could crop differently, or I still have to do all the black and whites for them also, but I need to like take a break from it and then come back and look at it with fresh eyes and make sure that I still like it because I really like what I've done so far, but it's a little bit, I feel like every time I do a new session, I do something a little bit differently.
Yeah,
And then
that's true.
I kind of struggle with that because I'm like, oh, well, should I really be like changing it up that much? Like, I feel like I should be delivering like consistent things. But I did like a few that were edited like a little moodier than my normal. And I'm still just deciding if that's how I'm going to deliver them. So I think it's hard to know
Yeah.
when you really like it and you're done. And that's our main topic of today. So
Yeah.
I feel like that was a good transition into it.
Yeah, I think especially if you have Lightroom, I could imagine how you could just keep on re-editing as much as you really want to and never stopping. And
It's really honestly hard because there are times when I edit it 3 different ways and I like all of them. So it's like I can't decide sometimes because I like how they each look and I appreciate them for each feeling that they bring. And then I'm like, should this be for me or should I pick the one that like my couple will like the best? I don't know.
yeah,
It's
that's
and then it's
hard.
hard to know. So,
Yeah.
and I like delivering like a variety where like they don't all look the same. Yeah. So it's hard.
It's really hard, especially when it's like you want to please the client. So you're kind of thinking like, okay, but what are they gonna like the best? And not really like, oh, what
Right.
do I want? It's kind of that's would be
Right.
really hard. A lot
And then
easier if
when
you're
you
not.
stare at it, when you stare at it for so long and then you start to wonder if you even like it at all,
Yeah.
um like there are times I'm like I've been doing this too long because I'm staring at this and staring at this and changing it and now I actually hate it and I think I should just not even deliver this image at all.
Yeah.
Well, it's helpful when I then like show it to you or somebody else who
Yeah,
can be like, "You're
exactly.
crazy, like this is fine."
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, anytime that you're like, especially if you're like staring at something for so long, you just like can't really like see clearly anymore. Like there are times, especially with like when I was in college and like in painting class, like you're just sitting there, right, in front of the canvas, the easel, and you're just staring unblinkingly at this canvas, and then you need like reminders of people to like literally pull you out and be like my professor, multiple professors, their biggest tip is stand up and look at it from far away, because if you look at it up close it's a
ooh.
completely different thing than if you look at it from far away. Like literally we had to like move, stand up, walk to the other side of the room, see what it looks like. It looks very different a lot of the
It probably gives
times.
you perspective though.
Yeah,
Like
it was a big help.
I feel like when you're up close, you start to like fixate on the details and be like, "Ooh, I don't like this one detail." And then like you kind of keep overthinking and you're like, "Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't like this other detail either. Like I would change that." And then
Yeah,
like you just need to get a different perspective of like it's not the singular details. It's like the image as a whole. Like you need to see it as a whole, not just like
yeah,
see one part and like fixate on that one little thing.
exactly. That's pretty much what they were saying. It's like you need to see the whole thing, basically. And even though you're like in front of it, like, oh, I can see the whole thing. Like I can see it. Hello, it's right there.
Right,
I'm
right.
not like going up to it like this, like going up to it, like. But even
You just need to
then,
see it
you
from a
do.
new
Yeah,
perspective.
you literally have to like walk to the outside of the room and then you'll see something different. Same thing if you flip your canvas upside down, or if you flip the image, if you're using like Adobe Fresco or Photoshop, you can flip it and see what it looks
Oh
like.
yeah, like mirror it.
Yeah, and this
That's
helps
cool.
a lot. I'm giving a lot of tips here. You're welcome.
I wonder if I
But
can do that in Lightroom because I haven't tried it.
yeah, it helps you see things that you never thought, especially if you are doing stuff with figure drawing. So if you're doing figures and you want to get proportions right, it's a very scary thing. You've been warned. Okay, guys. Hello. If you were doing figure drawing and you are making a person, you will get a little scared. I think if you flip it and you'll be like, oh, okay. Now I see it. Like it will shock you back into, let me fix this mode. You'll, and
How do you do that if you're doing it on a real canvas? Like, do you take a picture of it and then flip
yeah,
it?
that would be difficult.
Oh,
Yeah, you'd have to, I guess, yeah, you'd have to take a picture of it or do something like that. But even, or you could
yeah.
just like turn it upside down or something, or like just
True. Yeah.
rotate it. Maybe that'll help. But just changing it in some way will just like, I don't know, like something about like, like looking at something in your brain, if there's like a change, like you just start noticing things differently. I don't know. It's kind of funny, but it is what I'm scared
It's
to
like
do
how
it
that
sometimes.
there was a trend on TikTok for a while where there was a filter where you could flip your face like that. And people were saying this is how you find out how you really look.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to be on TikTok for that. You can do that with your own camera, and it's scary. It's anytime you use your anytime you use your back
It is
camera.
scary.
If you take a picture like this, then you're gonna get a face of your other face.
What other people see.
Yeah, and I don't like it, but it's the way it is. Just gotta ignore it and just hope that other people like it.
Right. Yeah, so I think it's also helpful to like have a buddy sometimes. I'm so glad that I have you as my buddy because I can just like be like, hey, can you look at this for me? I'm going crazy. Um, and I feel like if you were an artist, it would be helpful to have somebody there like working side by side that
Yeah.
they could see if you were like kind of getting like into that like mode where they can be
Yeah.
like, hey, and like shake you out
Literally
of it.
snap you out of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Tear you away. Like,
Right. Like you're good.
I mean, you can get
It's
really
okay.
obsessed with when you're working on something, and this goes for literally all things. Like if you're working on something, it's be it a book or your job, it's like hard to like literally stop if you get that much in the zone. Like, hours will pass and you don't even notice, and you need somebody to come in and be like,
Yep.
hey, let's wrap it up now.
To photography, or for photography, I mean, there is a couple different points at which you need to know when you're done. It isn't just the editing process, it's also the actual photo session.
Yeah.
So that is also difficult because you don't have like time to yourself to like think about it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's funny.
And it's weird if you like go through your entire all the pictures from the session to like decide if
Yeah.
you're done. You kind of just have to like get experience with this of like knowing like about how long it takes you to like get the number of images that you need, and like the more experience you get, the more efficient you become at it,
Yeah.
to where you won't need as much time. But if you know your couple has like certain images that they really want, or like a certain vibe that they really are looking for, then it can be harder to know if you really nailed it before you leave. And then sometimes you have to be mindful of their time too, so you can't
Right. Yeah, that's true.
spend too long. So I feel like that is hard, and it's like you kind of have to set an alarm for yourself. Be like, all right, so it's been, this amount of time. Like, how am I feeling about wrapping the session? Like, do I feel like I was struggling and we need more time, or do I have more than enough?
Right.
So that's hard. And I think some of it just comes with like experience. Yeah. There's a couple different points at which you have to know when you're done, and also know like how far you can. Some people are going to be more tolerant about it than others. Some people are going to want to stay and do all these pictures and keep going. And other people are going to be very tired after like the
Yeah.
first 30 minutes and they want to be done. So you kind of have to like assess who you're working with also. And if you know going into it, like, okay, this person isn't going to have a lot of bandwidth for this, then I'm going to have to kind of be efficient and quick and just stick to stuff I know works.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like this is especially true for maternity sessions because oftentimes it's closer to the end of the pregnancy when like
Oh, right.
their back is really hurting. It's just hard to be on their feet for extended periods of time. And if there isn't anywhere for them to like sit and take breaks, it could be tough, or like they might be hungry, or it's just harder. So
Yeah.
you definitely have to know your client's limits
Yeah.
to know when you're done, because you can say to them occasionally like, hey, like I think we're almost done here, like we're just going to do one or two more. There's times where it's really not worth it,
Yeah.
and you should just let them let them rest or let the session be over. So you kind of have to know who you're working with. But I think that is hard, and I just wanted to talk about that before we moved on.
That's true. At least with like photographers, you have like that time limit. So you know, like, okay, at least it's going to
Right.
be about that time. For me, it's like I could spend an infinite amount of time. Like if I don't have like
Right.
a client, even then, like it's if someone asks me to like, that commissions me to do a drawing, I usually have like a time period between a few weeks or whatever, a few weeks to like a month or
Right.
whatever it is. So I could spend more and more time on it. But if you literally are a photographer and like, all right, this is an hour session, like that you at least
Right.
are
Yeah.
prevented from being like, okay, I can't spend a million years at this location. I
Yeah,
literally
like
have to
you're
go.
you yeah, like you're not going to overwork yourself because you already set the boundary beforehand.
Yeah.
I feel like that is probably hard too when you have something that maybe your commission is a little bit more difficult or it takes a little more time than it usually
Yeah.
would, but it's the same size that another one would, another picture another person
Yeah, that is
purchased.
difficult too.
And it's
Yeah.
the same price, but you're spending more time on it because it's more difficult.
Yeah.
It's a more difficult concept. So that's hard. It's like, when do you decide, okay, this isn't worth it anymore?
Yeah, it's difficult, right? Because it's like with anything with art, like you literally could just keep on going. Like you could literally just
Yeah,
never stop if you really wanted to.
right.
Like for my marker drawing, if I really, 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 really wanted to, like I could
Like
add
you could
even
work on
more
it for the rest of
details.
your life.
Yeah, I could add more details to it. Maybe I could change it. Maybe instead I want to do something else. Then it's like you have to like you physically are like you can't just keep going. You like have
Right.
things
Yeah.
you gotta like put limits to yourself and so if you ever struggle with if anyone watching ever struggles with keeping track of time, maybe setting a limit for yourself for like, okay, I'm only gonna work on this for this many hours and then that's it. I,
I think that's
however,
very smart.
cannot take that advice. I might give that advice, but
I'm
I'm
sure
very
it's much
bad.
easier said than done.
Like, I'm very bad at doing that. But I think maybe if I did, then I probably would be like better about finishing things. Although I think I am getting a little bit better over time at finishing things, like
Well,
and
I think it
stopping.
also is just like, how much can you take? Because at some point you're going to be like,
Yeah,
I
I'm
can't
done.
do this anymore.
You,
I'm calling this done.
yeah,
Because it is, because I say so,
you
because I'm tired working on
Yeah,
it.
yeah, exactly. That was me during the charcoal drawing of you and Rochelle. I just got so frustrated. It was like, I'm done. I'm done with you. You go through like you have like, they call it the 5 stages of grief, but it's the 5 stages of art making. You go through like different things, different like you're first starting the first stage, okay? Ooh, yeah, I'm really excited. I'm really excited to work on this. And like you have so many projects you want to work on, but this one you're really excited about. All right, stage 2. All right, there are some. This is going fine. It's going fine. It's gonna be fine.
We're
It's
getting into a flow state
we're
now.
we're
This is
we're,
kind of
we're
relaxing.
kind of fine. Yeah, we're doing good. Then it's like third stage, you're like, okay, now I'm running into a difficulty. Oh no, I messed up. Now you're going through problems. Okay, but it's fine. It'll look good maybe eventually, or it might not. At that point, you're really doubting yourself. And the fourth stage is is when you're like, I hate this. This is not going very well at all. I am over it. I don't want to do this anymore. And the fifth stage is, you know what? It's fine. I'm done. I'm done. I am done with you. I'm done with the world. I'm done. Now, not all the time is it this dramatic. Um, it depends, and they're not always in that order. You could feel the opposite direction.
Like the 5 stages of grief, it's
It could be,
not linear.
yeah, it
You
could be
can move
yes,
through them back and
yes,
forth.
yes, yes,
I
constantly.
think you described it perfectly. I couldn't have put it better myself.
So it's hard. Sometimes you just gotta stop for your own good.
I've gotten better at knowing when to stop, and I'm spending less and less time at like editing, I feel like, because I've just kind of nailed the process down a little bit more and made it easier for myself. And, now I use some AI software to like help it be easier. But there definitely is still a lot of frustration,
Yeah.
especially culling. Culling is the worst. When two photos look so similar and there's only some slight difference between them, and I like gotta pick one. Um,
That's hard.
that is honestly the least favorite part of my job. However, I would argue it's one of the most important.
That
Um,
have to do that with my pictures and stuff like that, and having to
it
narrow
is
it down between all the
for
pictures.
me, like it takes the longest and it's the hardest to do. But it's so important and you can't skip it and you can't half-ass it because then your gallery just isn't going to look the way you want it. But it's the worst part and I dread it every time. I mean, it's fun the first time when you look through all the photos. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. But then when you have to go back and pick the ones that you really like the most and you want in the gallery and get rid of the rest, it is not fun. And I'm just sitting there like toggling back and forth between two pictures, being like, I don't know, who am I? I don't know which one describes them better. I don't know.
And then in reality, it's like they're exactly the same.
Right.
They're like,
But a lot of times though, it could make a big difference in the overall image. Like maybe they're just composed like slightly differently. And like one is like artistically better, but I can't tell anymore because I've been doing it for an hour.
and then you got to step away.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that is the hardest thing to do because I just want to get the culling stage over with. Like I do not want to have to prolong it. I don't want to have to pause and come back. I want to be done so I can get to the fun part, which is editing.
Yeah.
And I don't want to have to sit there culling photos for longer than I have to, so I just try to just slam through it, and it's so unpleasant.
Yeah, well, you gotta do it for your own good, Allie. Go close your laptop.
Yeah.
And take a bath or something. I don't know. Go back to it later. But that is really
Right.
hard. That is like the best thing to do though when you're like unsure about if you are done with something, is to like go back to it. Like it's like the number one way that I could tell. It's like when I'm working on a drawing, I was working on a drawing a few months ago and I really wanted to be done with it super fast. Like, okay, every time I do my drawing, I feel like it sounds like I am annoyed. I'm not always annoyed when I'm drawing, but
Yeah, like it sounds like we hate it. But it's not that we hate it. It's just that it's like any other job where there's parts of it that are unpleasant.
it's when you're like
And
nearing
we're
the
just
end
complaining.
of your patience, you're gonna be
Right.
you get to that point where you're just over it. But I have a really hard time where there was like one time where it was like 11:30 at night, and I was like, I gotta finish this. I gotta finish this right now, this very second. So I was like constantly, I was like working on it, and I really wanted to be done with it. I can't remember what drawing it was, to be honest. But I remember like Sean saying something like, you can just do it in the morning, just like finish it in the morning. Because I was saying like, I'm done with it. No, I'm done. No, it's done.
Right, like
No,
I'm
it's
not
done.
coming back.
No.
Like
No.
yeah, you get to a level where you're like, because guess what? If you had to go back to it the next morning, the drawing wins. The drawing wins, and you lose. No, I will not let it win. I had planned on being done tonight. It will be done, even if it sucks.
Yeah, and guess what? Sometimes it sucks.
I don't care. Like it can't win.
But if you just
I am the one who decides. Me, I say so.
I mean, but if you just wait one more like hour, it's like one more hour of work, and then it might actually be like even better. But
Perfect.
Then, yeah, it'll be perfect. Just go to bed and then come back to it with fresh eyes. But then I'm like, no, I can't. I'm gonna stop. I won't be able to stop thinking about it. I won't be able to stop thinking about it unless I do it right now.
It's gonna live rent free in my head for the rest of the night and the morning.
Yeah.
So no way.
Yeah, it's hard to rip yourself from it. Sometimes you have to literally like just put it away and like not look at it. It's difficult. So I'm still struggling with it. I'm trying to be better at it. Just like with everything, like I said, it's not just an art thing. Like you can get obsessed with doing something. If you're doing it for a long time, you just gotta like step away from it and just go back to it later. Unfortunately, it's like the best way to do with it. Yeah.
I totally agree. And I think to wrap this segment, because we've done a really good job, I feel like, explaining this. And we've talked, I feel like this topic actually was, I didn't realize how many things we had to say on this topic. But I feel like that was very comprehensive. And to wrap on it, I just want to share what AI thinks about this.
Oh, okay.
Because I asked AI to write a little on this topic, and it said, also, I specifically asked it to write about how to know when your work is done as an artist. AI says, take a few deep breaths and see if your intuition tells you it's done. You can also try waiting a day or two to come back to your work with a refreshed mind. So even AI knows that this is the best way to approach it.
I like how it just the first part's like, just Is your intuition telling you it's done?
Right, right.
Maybe just is your intuition
Um,
telling you?
and then just from like a quick Google search, I garnered a few other pieces of advice, which was you know when it's done if it looks good from close up and far away, which we had already touched on.
Exactly.
You know if it's done if you've taken risks to get there. So have you pushed yourself enough?
Oh, I don't
That's a
know.
good point.
Now I gotta think about that.
Um,
So that's
I
great.
know. And then yeah, it just seems like there was a consensus when researching this that it was one of the hardest parts of being an artist.
Yeah, well,
So there you have it, folks. Moving on to today's hot take.
ooh, yeah. I said like that.
This should be a good one. Do you want to go or should I go?
You can go.
So this is once again a hot take that I found on Threads, where I find most of the hot takes, because a lot of photography discussions seem to have moved here, and I get suggested threads to me that are very controversial. So this one says, I had someone tell me that planners only work with fine art photographers. What constitutes you as fine art? Genuinely curious. I feel like this is just another buzzword being thrown around for marketing purposes like documentary wedding photography.
What is the name
So,
planners?
like wedding planners.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I feel like this is a good question because from my understanding, fine art photography was photography that like is thought out and planned beforehand.
Mm.
So I feel like you could make a good argument for this by saying that like the photographers that know exactly what they want their shot to look like during certain parts of the wedding day, that they've already done the planning and the work that they would need to do and have the gear they need to do to make the shot look exactly the way that they picture. So, for example, sometimes there's like the bride and groom request like a specific photo that they've seen before or like a specific moment to be like captured in a certain way. Like an example is like the sparkler exits. When like the bride and groom leave the reception, there's like people standing with sparklers, like the
Oh, I've
family and
never
friends
seen
are
that.
standing around them with sparklers and they ask the photographer to like capture it. So that is a good example because it's like something that people are doing just for the picture
Yeah.
and it's like something that was like planned and agreed upon beforehand. So it's something that isn't just captured like the purpose of it is kind of like for the picture, if that makes sense. Like people are just doing it because it looks cool.
Yeah.
Not because like it's actually pleasant to like exit the reception with like a bunch of sparklers going off around you. I mean, it probably is cool. It's probably a cool experience, I guess, actually. But I feel like a lot of it is just because like, oh, like we've seen this online and it looks really cool. So can you accomplish this? And it takes a lot. Like it's a really hard shot to get. Like it's
Yeah.
technical. And then I feel like there's other shots of like the bride and groom during like their portraits. Usually you like steal the couple away at some point during the night to take portraits of them outside or in a different location away from everyone. And I feel like you could argue that is like fine art because you've like already decided what the portraits are going to look like. You brought all the things you need for them. Like, I feel like you could make an argument for it for that. But then I see what she's saying where it's like, how is it still different from documentary photography? Because documentary photography is like a wider term that encapsulates even that because it's literally documenting the wedding. So you can say like it's documenting an important event. So it's still like documentary photography and not fine art photography.
It's so confusing. I'm so confused.
It's so confusing because I feel like a lot of it, like it is true. A lot of it is like being used as like just words for marketing because people know that that type of photography is like trending. What makes that different from like another picture taken on like someone else's wedding day by someone who doesn't call themselves that? But a lot of it is marketing and like these terms are kind of gray. So
Yeah.
that's something I thought was interesting. Take of the week because I kind of call myself like a documentary photographer with like a fine arts flair. because I still like to do fine art portraits as well. Like I'm still also a portrait photographer. So
Yeah.
I'm very stuck on this one. And I don't really know. I think it's because I feel like everyone thinks it's so important to like put themselves in a box and like label themselves.
Yeah. I don't think you
I don't know
need
if we really need
to.
to. Yeah,
I
like I don't
don't.
I've recently come to this conclusion, like I don't think I need to use these words. And actually
Yeah, I'm
last
with
week
you.
I took them off my bio last week because of this tweet. I was just like, like I'm tired of like trying to pigeonhole myself into like something just so that people can think that they know like exactly what they're getting. Like I don't know, like I I feel like if you look at my work, then you know what you're getting. Like
Yes,
I don't need to
exactly.
like I don't need to like put words on it or anything like yeah. So that's where I'm at with that.
I'm with you. I mean, if they actually are going to like do the research, like you only really know what those words mean, like if you're looking for photographers. So it's not going to help most people anyway. Like
Right,
most people aren't
exactly.
going to know the difference between a fine arts photographer and a documentary style photographer
They're
because
not.
they're just going to know, okay, well,
Right.
aren't you documenting it because you're taking photos? Like, isn't it? They're not going to know that like what like that actually
They might even
means.
think that they know, but they don't really, you know?
Yeah, and so it's
Um,
just pointless anyway. You just show them the
because they could have
pictures.
been told the wrong thing. Yeah. Someone else said it's just keywords to attract different people, and no gallery is wedding photography collected or curated like fine art is. Someone else said, it's a good question. As someone who only dabbles in the wedding world, I always assumed fine art equals very posed, a bit weird, decent amount edited, not aiming
Bit
to be
weird.
documented to life. I know, I like how they said a bit weird.
Okay.
I could very well be out to lunch, is what they say. Yeah, so I feel like those are all good points.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I think because your whole thing is giving people pictures, like and taking pictures. So I wouldn't really worry about having to find like a label for yourself. Your pictures should
I
be
would
able to
rather
explain yourself.
spend, yeah, I would rather spend the time that I could spend worrying about what to call myself on like actually learning new things or doing stuff for my clients. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not going to worry about it anymore. Um, I think a lot of like higher end photographers do this also because they want to seem like they're like refined and it's like such a special
They're specialized.
uh
Yeah, like they.
it's like luxury thing. And that's fine. Maybe I'll do it one day, but like right now it's just not a priority because I have other things to worry about.
Yeah, I don't think you really need to, and your photos should be able to speak for yourself. So I agree with you.
Right. Like I understand marketing is important, but I think there's other ways to market other than just pigeonholing yourself with certain words.
Yeah, I mean, you could put it in your hashtags, or I guess, or in your. I mean,
Right,
if you
right.
want to make it for like SEO purposes, I could see that. But I don't think you need to put it in like your any descriptions or like your biography, your page, or whatever on your
Right.
website. Like, I don't think you need to do
As
that.
long as people know who I am, what I do, who I do it for, that's I feel like all you need.
I agree with you. But I want to move to my hot take, and I will just say it real quick. And it's not a super long conversation. It is just simply this: nobody cares how old you are when you make something. And I will expand on this.
Ooh, I love that. I love that one because I saw something recently that boiled my blood.
So I'll explain. I thought about this for like a while. I took a break off of Reddit. Fun fact, like I don't go on Reddit anymore. I used to go on Reddit like a crap ton. And like a lot of the art pages are like, I mean, I can't blame that much. They're literally children, but a lot of them are like, I'm 13 and I drew this. Or I'm this person and I drew this. And I'm like, nobody cares. Nobody cares. Art
Right.
is art. It doesn't matter how old you are. It just matters how much experience you have. You could, some person who's like 45 years old could decide to want to draw someday and have zero experience drawing and
Yeah,
not,
like we're not,
and they
yeah,
won't
we're
be
not
as,
gatekeeping art.
yeah, and like it doesn't make you, oh, you're 16 years old.
It doesn't make you any better.
Yeah,
It
like
does not make you a better artist than someone who drew something that is just as good, who's older than you.
yeah, it's just trying to like get that clout for like you're so young and looks so good, because it's like it doesn't really matter like at all. And they just want to get like the
Right.
likes, and it's just kind of annoying. Anyway, it's just
Yeah, and
something
it's
that
like
it's just stupid. I don't like it.
all that matters is that you keep improving.
Yeah, exactly.
No
That's
one
true.
cares if you're good early on if you don't get any better.
Yeah,
Um,
that's true. I mean, it really just has to do with like experience. Like if you have been drawing for years and you're 18 and you've been drawing for years and years and years, you're going to be probably better than somebody who's like 50 who has not done much drawing at all. It doesn't have anything to do with your age. So anyway,
right.
it just gets under my skin sometimes. The only time
That
it's
got
like,
that
sorry, the only time that it really like doesn't bother me that much is if it's like a kid who's like actually young and they're doing a good job despite their like lack of motor skills. It's like if you have like if
right.
you're a kid and like, because I work with children, I am an art teacher, so like there it's impressive when it's like, oh, you literally are just new at like being able to shade. Like you're, some kids don't have that fine motor skill function, and like
Right.
some literally do at like 5 years old, but like, and
Wow.
some that are like 7 might not have as good as a 5 year old, just because like their motor skills like aren't as good.
Like
um
not everyone develops at the same rate.
yeah, and so it just, it's like, it can be kind of impressive. It's like, oh, you're so young and it looks like it looks really good. So sometimes it can be kind of like cool, but like you don't need to post about
Your
like
age.
your age
Yeah.
and then expect like it's just
I also
obnoxious. It's just obnoxious.
can't
Sorry.
stand it when like I saw a thread recently that someone was like, if you're like, you know, in your past your late 20s and you're still trying to be a famous photographer, you should just give up because no one like you're not going to make it like if you haven't made it already.
That's sad.
Um
That's a depressing way of living.
yeah, so oh my god, like it had to have been rage bait cuz like
Yeah,
people
that can't
commenting
be a
like,
real
"What?
like,
No, like I know someone that like got famous at like 40 or whatever
yeah,
from
people are
like doing it."
just,
Like you can't put like a limit just because like you think what? Like you can't build a following or you can't, like do all that past a certain age. Like it doesn't make any sense.
that's the same thing with anything though too. It's like if you have a like, oh, you want to change careers and you're past the age of 30, are you
Right.
stupid? What? It's a little too
Yeah.
late
Like
now. Like
it's so false.
it's so false. Like you have so much life to live. Like I always find it inspiring when there's like old people, like old, like actually like people in their elderly people who are 80s or whatever that go to college or something like that. And it's just like, oh,
I
like
love
that's
that.
nice. Like they're actually trying to better themselves. Like it doesn't
Yeah.
really matter like how old they are. So it's just like I love that. So it's really annoying if people try to limit them by their age.
Very.
So anyway,
I guess moving on. We're gonna do our recent inspiration or artist spotlight. So I'm just gonna share on the screen, we'll put it here, the picture that I saw recently that kind of inspired me. So this photo is by Hannah Shea Photography. I saw it on a photography inspiration page, and it's basically a picture that she took while hiding inside the house
hiding.
of a backyard wedding. It's a
Cool.
really nice house. It looks like a very large yard, but she took the picture through the window where the curtains are framing the shot, and the window is closed, but you can see the guests are sitting at the table. It's like a round, like half moon, like setup in the backyard with lots of like twinkle lights.
Cute.
And I just think it's a cool like perspective shot, and it just shows like you don't always have to be like right up front and center while documenting. Like you can take the opportunity to like hide or get different perspectives on things. And that's what I really like about the image. I also just like the way that it's edited. It's kind of moody a little bit and a little bit
Yeah.
cinematic. So yeah, that's my inspiration for the week. I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Yeah, I like it. I like the colors, and I like that the perspective is like a little different than normal. I think it's inspiring to change your perspective every once in a while. So that's cool. Mine is just not really that recent, but um I'm gonna put up the photographer page on the screen. But this photographer, Xenia, I think that's how you say her name. She's a really cool photographer who that's a lot of like fashion photography and like a lot of like cool like creative, I feel like creative photo shoots that like I used like as like inspiration like in my own art. Like I'm not, taking photos really, but like using them as kind of like a reference is really cool because like she does a lot of like cool close-ups on like the models' faces, and like the lighting is like really cool. And as I probably mentioned before, like I love dramatic lighting. So even like with my own stuff, so it's really cool. I really like their stuff, and yeah.
I really love the portraits that she does as well. I feel like they are fashion portraits, but they're so creative.
Hmm.
Um, this is next level.
It's
This is
really cool.
right up there with Irene, my number one girl. Um, my number one fave. But yeah, I really love these pictures.
They're really cool. Yeah. So
And I feel like even the editing is really nice.
yeah, I know. Yeah. So it's really inspiring. Even if you look at, it just goes to show if you don't even do that medium really, you can still be inspired by any kind of art that you see. So it's really cool.
Correct. Our next segment, knowledge share. Steal my settings. So this week, I guess I can find an image that shows how to do this. Basically, this trick is a really simple and easy way to getting dreamy looking photos or to making your photos look like film. And the only difference between the two is how you edit them. So this image was taken with the pantyhose. And what I did was you can lower the blacks in the image to add more blacks so that it gives it a little bit more contrast. Then you add whites. You add a little bit, like the preset that I use is like usually negative contrast. So I usually add a little bit more contrast. I adjust the exposure until I like it and the white balance. And there you have it. That is how you get that kind of dreamy look without losing too much of the details. Do other things with your editing and see what you like better, but that is how you get those type of looking photos.
Yeah, I really like all of your dreamy portraits that you've done like previously, and I think it just gives it
Thanks.
like that kind of, I don't know, gives it even though it's very subtle, like it's not like a huge like difference, but it still gives you that feel.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's not like
I like
obvious that
adding it.
it's.
Right, like I don't like doing it as all of the images, but I like kind of adding, like I said, I like adding a little bit of a variety to my galleries, and this is one thing that I will sometimes do to kind of make the photos a little more interesting and make them feel a little more exciting.
Mhm.
Like just like that, get that kind of like dream-like state feeling. So
Yeah,
that is something that is easy to do and very simple.
awesome. For me, my only tip is just I didn't plan on like saying it during the finding how when you're trying to figure out how done your art is, but it was literally going to be stand far away from your art.
That's a good one. I think
Stand
we can
far
count that.
away,
Yeah.
and then look at it because it's something that I don't think everybody thinks about doing. So it is still literally just go step away from it, literally, and actually put it like, like literally go
Oh,
step
yes.
away from it. But yeah.
Also, I can add to this section really quickly by just saying that you don't always have to shoot at 1.4. Let's just throw that out there as a tip.
Oh.
Because sometimes I feel like when people start getting into photography, like when I started getting into photography, I was like very obsessed with like shooting at the lowest aperture possible, but you don't have to. So that's my tip also, is to like go experiment with that and try doing things at higher apertures and see how your images look different.
And what does it mean to be like 1.4? Like, what is that? If someone doesn't know what aperture means.
So when you're learning photography, you'll learn something called the exposure triangle. So that is one of the 3 settings that you will learn to adjust on your camera when you're in manual mode. And certain lenses have different capabilities, meaning like certain lenses have like a different range of aperture, and some have a smaller range. Typically, the more expensive the lens, the better the aperture range. So when you're trying to get that look where the subject is in focus and the background is blurry, you want to use a lower aperture. And if you're trying to make the image look very sharp and everything is more in focus, then you use a higher aperture.
Okay, that's good.
And both, like, there's nothing wrong with either. Like, I used to think it was always better to shoot at the lower one, and that is not true. You can get creative with it, and that's what's great about learning manual mode, is being in control and being able to do more things.
That's awesome. Yeah, you never really think about changing it from like the just the one thing, but changing.
Well, yeah,
it up
because
is
it's like,
good.
I feel like in the beginning you think that's what's best. Like,
Yeah.
and it's not always the case. You can definitely, there are times when you shouldn't shoot at a lower aperture.
Very
So-
situational.
Yes.
Photography is like literally it's just very situational. I don't think there's anything more like depends on where you are. Art
And who
form.
you're, yeah,
Yeah.
and who you're working with or what you're trying to do.
Exactly. That's a good point. But yeah.
So lastly, we have our nostalgia. So we're going to share a childhood memory, and I have one this week, and it's from when we used to swim in your pool, Beth, when we were a lot younger, and we used to do the whirlpool game.
Rest in
I don't know if
peace,
anyone
pool.
listening knows the whirlpool game. This was our favorite game, and we played a lot of games. We played Marco Polo. We played a lot of games.
All the
But I
classics.
feel like we always started with this one. We would always play whirlpool. We would just basically, if you don't know, you run through the water around the edges of the pool, and you have to get multiple people to do this until
easier. Yeah.
the pool becomes a whirlpool.
It works.
It takes time to build up. It does work, but it takes a long time. And I remember your pool was not completely round.
It's
So it was extra hard.
like oval, yeah.
It was like oval, yeah. So it was a little bit harder. You had to work like a little bit harder to get it going. But then the fun thing that would happen is that like at some point somebody would randomly decide to like cut the whirlpool.
And it'd
So
ruin
that
it.
was like a really
Isaac.
cool feeling. Yeah, it's usually Isaac. I was gonna say that. Like, they just decide they want to stop the whirlpool. They just go right through the center where it's doing the spinny thing. Usually it was Isaac. Yes.
Yeah. Isaac's my brother. Yeah, so he did that. And it was very frustrating. But usually the more people that you have, like it's the easier to like get it up and going again.
To get it going. Yeah.
But it was fun.
I remember a couple times.
Because the best part of it is like when you have it up and going, you just like float very fast around the water.
It becomes like a lazy river almost.
Yeah, it's really
like
fun.
you can just let go and like it just carries you around the edges of the pool.
Yeah.
So that is the reason why we would do it. It wasn't just to make it look cool.
Yeah,
I kind of forgot about that.
Yeah, it literally just carry you around, and it got easier and easier to like move across because it literally would just carry you. But yeah, good times. Now the pool is no longer there. My parents got rid of it like
Sad.
a year or two ago. It's very sad. Now it's going to be a greenhouse. Now it is a greenhouse. They have a greenhouse there now instead where the pool is. So they can go plants
Rest
or
in peace.
whatever.
Yeah, rest in peace, our childhood memories.
Now plants are growing where my childhood memory died.
Man,
Oh, well.
So that's all we have for you guys this week. Thanks for joining. We hope this was helpful, informative, or fun somehow for you, and we hope to see you on the next episode. If you have any thoughts, comments, questions,
Yes,
please drop them in the comments below. And if there's any topic you would like to see us cover next time, please just ask us in the comments.
Yeah,
we'll be more than
literally.
happy to consider it. So
But yeah, thank you so much, and we'll see you all next time. Bye.
bye.